Today we're taking a look at Arbortech sanding tools, and we're going to see how they worked with this mahogany bowl. Today we're looking at the fourth installment in the Arbortech Power Carving Tool Review. In the first installment of the series, we did an overview of all of Arbortech's power carving tool range. In the second review, we looked at the power carving unit and then the turbo plane and the industrial wood carver, both 4-inch blades that will fit on the power carving unit. Both of those can be used with the dust collection that they have. On the third review, what we looked at are there small cutters that also fit on the power carving unit. We looked at the turbo shaft, and we actually made a sign with that in that. We looked at the ball gouge, and we looked at the mini turbo kit, which has this 2-inch two-bladed cutter. Today, what we're going to be looking at are their sanding tools. And the sanding tools involve, first of all, a 4-inch disc. This fits onto the power carving unit, and it actually comes with the power carving unit kit. Moving down in size, we're going to be looking at this contour sander, and then you move down to the 2-inch discs. These discs come with the mini turbo kit, which also has this blade in it. And so we're going to remove this blade from the shaft, and we're going to mount these 2-inch discs on it. Before I open these up, I wanted to have the sanding that we practice with this time through be something that's practical. So since the last review, I took some of these tools and I took a large piece of mahogany and I started to form a bowl. We are going to actually use these sanding tools to make this smooth, and we're going to see how it works. So join me at the end of the video to see how that is working. All right, first thing, power carving unit. I unboxed this. If you want to see that, then look at the second installment where we look at the power carving unit and these two blades. So this is the power carving unit. It is essentially a grinder, but it is not universal to all grinders. All grinders' handles are not necessarily positioned in the same place. And in order to use the dust ports, you have to have their grinder with the handle in the right place. So this is the power carving unit. The 4-inch sanding discs very simply just screw onto the power carving unit. It would be a very nice thing if their dust port worked with the sanding disc. Yes, look at that. So it is going to do some dust collection. You have about a third of the pad, maybe between a third and a half of the pad, the edge of the pad that is available to actually work on a concave surface. So it's not going to work in all situations, but I think it will work for our needs. So that is what the 4-inch pad, and then of course it's very simple. You just Velcro on the actual sanding discs themselves. Now we're going to open up this contour sander. Fascinating. So one of the things that I wondered in one of the previous reviews was how big was this contour sander? And I was assuming it would be a different size than what came with the mini turbo kit. So turns out the sanding discs are exactly the same size as what comes with the mini turbo kit. In terms of the disc, you see that there. You see that the disc, it's the same disc as what comes with the mini turbo kit. This is pretty fascinating. Wait till you see what they're actually doing with this contour sander. So with the mini turbo kit, this sanding disc goes on there. It adheres to this turbo shaft, or to the mini turbo, to the shaft of the mini turbo kit, and it adheres so that the disc is moving at the same rate that the shaft is moving, which of course is moving at the same speed that the power carving unit here is moving. So that is a fixed thing, and it's moving in an exact circle. But for the contour sander, this disc spins freely on here and also moves at a slight orbital action also. And so you get a random orbital type of a pattern with the sanding discs on this, as opposed to this, which just is a straight circular sander. So it's just moving in straight circles. This is going to be some type of a random orbital thing. So it'll probably remove a little less, but it will leave a finer finish than what this does. Those also simply just spin on the shaft of the power carving unit and spin off. You just need a wrench to grab that. Those are the things that we're going to be looking at today. And so I am going to then start with the 4-inch discs, and we are going to finish contour the outside of this, and then we'll contour the inside of this, do the finish contouring on the inside of this, and sand that with both the mini turbo kit sander and then the contour sander. So that is what we're doing today. So I'm going to get set up down here at the end of the bench, and then we will shape these. Okay, so I'm at the end of my bench. I've got the bowl clamped down to the bench here. I have the power carving unit with the 4-inch disc on it. This is 60 grit sandpaper, and I am trying the dust collection port, so I have it hooked up to my dust extractor just off camera. Yeah, so that worked extremely well. With the power carving unit with the turbo plane on it, it is great for removing stuff fast, but the really detailed stuff is kind of hard to do. This mahogany is soft enough that this 60 grit sandpaper had no problem whatsoever with the making that just exactly the shape that I want. I'm going to leave it at 60 grit sandpaper because I'm going to be going over the outside of this bowl with the power carver, which is going to leave a bunch of scalloped texturing on it. And so we're just going to leave this the way it is. So I'm going to switch over now to the mini turbo sander, and we're going to see how that does. All right, so I've got the bowl flipped over and clamped down to the bench. I have the mini turbo sander that is on here now, 60 grit sandpaper again, and we are just going to see what this is like. Sanding on the inside of this bowl. All right, so that's pretty good with 60 grit. I'm going to move to a finer grit, and I'm actually going to move over to the other 2-inch sander, the contour sander that has that random orbital action on that, and I'm going to move up a grit. All right, so I've got the contour sander, which has that orbital action, or I'm assuming it does based on what I was seeing, and 120 grit, and we're going to do another pass with that. Wow, so the difference between those two sanders couldn't be greater. With the mini turbo kit, which is directly held onto this piece of sandpaper was very aggressive. It removed a lot of stuff, but it had a tendency, if you got the corner in the right place, it would catch and it would kind of gouge in a little bit. But with the contour sander, the fact that this spins and this spins means that edge never catches, and it provides a nice random orbital action and allows you just to keep it right down onto the surface and do the finished sanding without having to worry about about that edge catching in. As a matter of fact, I think it would be fine to have the 60 grit on that. But this really does a good job of the shaping that you need to have happen. But this guy, the contour sander, really does a good job of getting that final smoothness in there without having to worry about that edge catching and kind of gouging. So I'm going to flip this around and just see what this is like on the other side before we finish up here. So certainly not done with the sanding at this point, but this is, you know, a good ways there, and all of the large indentations or anything that was any imperfections that were there because of the ball gouge and the mini turbo kit with the cutter head on it, those are all gone at this point. And this outside is completely ready for the power carver and to get the texturing on there that I want. And I've got a couple more grits, and there's a couple spots in here I need to go back over again. But for the most part, yeah, this is something that I've been fairly impressed with. So when you see me next, we'll have the power carver unit out, and we will actually do the carving on the outside of this and see what we can do with that. So thanks for joining me. This is Todd Wolfe with Made by Wolfe, encouraging you to get out in your makerspace, in your workshop, whatever it is, get out there and make something today.